talking a little bit about Yule, winter solstice, that kind of stuff. And I just wanted to jump in and let you know that, like, I didn't write the stuff that's on the pages of the books that you see me read from. It's just stuff that I've collected and books that I've put together. So sometimes the information is not always 100% accurate. And I do my best to try to jump in and let you know when that's happening, right? So winter solstice and Yule are not technically the same thing. A lot of people have gotten accustomed to using the two terms interchangeably, and that's totally okay. I'm not here to gatekeep. I'm not here to tell people how they need to practice their craft and like what their traditions and beliefs need to be. I'm just here to give you all the facts, and then you can kind of decide what you want to do for yourself and go from there. So traditionally, winter solstice is like an astronomical event that happens, you know, when the earth is positioned at a certain time on the axis of the sun, that kind of a thing. So the date it falls on will vary depending on the year, like whether it's a leap year or not, and it will also vary on your region if you're actually going by the astronomical events that are used to calculate the solstices and the equinoxes. And you can find that information in farmers' almanacs and witches' almanacs if you actually want to go the route of celebrating on the exact day. And that day, again, can vary. It can be anywhere between the 20th and the 23rd. And again, that's for all solstices and equinoxes, not just the winter solstice. So traditionally, most people would celebrate winter solstice on the 21st because it's kind of the middleman, the median, the common denominator between the 20th, the 21st, the 22nd, and like the 23rd. So a lot of people just kind of over time have taken the 21st and just kind of rounded it up or down to that date and not really focused on the actual astronomical aspect. And that's okay. It's easier a lot of times. Like, it's just easier. And then Yule is actually a 12-day event. The 12 days of Yule, and that's kind of where like the 12 days of Christmas Christian spin-off came from, of course. But the 12 days of Yule would usually start on winter solstice, and then they would end anywhere between the 30th, the 31st, and January 1st, depending on which day solstice actually was. So again, out of convenience for family tradition, a lot of people have just kind of combined the two, and they just celebrate Yule and winter solstice together as one thing on one day, and they usually will pick like the 20th or the 21st. Then you have people who are actually going to go by the farmer almanacs and the witches almanacs, and it's going to vary every year which day they choose. And then you have the people who will specifically celebrate winter solstice by itself, and then they will do the 12 days of Yule. You have some people that won't do the 12 days of Yule at all. It's just Yule and winter solstice is one, which I said a minute ago. There is no right or wrong way when it comes to your own personal choices, but again, I just kind of wanted to give you the information before I went in to what was written in this book, because it is going to refer to it as Yule and Yule only, and then talk about some other names for it, and those are also not going to be 100% accurate, and I'll jump in and tell you why in a minute. Yule is also sometimes known as winter solstice. In the northern hemisphere, it usually takes place on December 21st, and in the southern hemisphere, it would be on June 21st. The pagan holiday called Yule takes place on the day of winter solstice, around December 21st in the northern hemisphere. Below the equator, the winter solstice would fall around June 21st. Most traditions, Yule is a Sabbath that begins the new year. Yule is a fire festival. It is a time for celebrating the return of light. From this point forward, the days will gradually go longer again until we reach the height of the sun's point. Until we reach the height of the sun's power at summer solstice. The significance of the winter solstice has been recognized for thousands of years, ever since human beings first observed the ever-changing patterns of sunrise and sunset over the course of the seasons. The Yule name comes from the pre-Christian festivities of Germanic tribes and is believed to have been handed down to us from the ancient Norse in particular. In Wicca, the god is reborn at Yule, having died in the previous Sabbath Samhain at the end of October. The weak quality of sunlight during these still short days is symbolized by the god in his infancy, just having been born and needing sustenance before he can come back into his full power. The goddess, who has been in her crone aspect these last few months, is now once again in her mother aspect, having just given birth to the baby god. She represents the earth, remaining still and silent for a while, yet as she rests from her labor. Of course, the leaders of the early Christian church decided that it was a good time to celebrate the birth of Jesus as well, since one of their strategies for winning converts was to align their holidays with already existing pagan festivals. This is a celebration of the renewal of life, and people gather within the warmth of their homes to be merry and give thanks. Themes include rebirth, quiet introspection, New Year, hope, the setting of intentions, and the celebration of life. It is also sometimes known as winter solstice, midwinter, Alban Arthuan, Yuletide. Okay, so again, as you saw at the bottom of that, it said that this wasn't 100% accurate, and that's why I didn't actually say it when I was reading it out loud. I don't know a whole lot about, I think it was the Alber of Albanian. I'm not familiar with that particular name, terminology, culture for a winter holiday. So I don't know if that one is accurately another name for winter solstice or not. Maybe somebody else can speak on that in the comments if that's part of your culture. I do know that Saturnella is not the same thing as winter solstice or the same thing as Yule. Okay, so I can't give you the whole rundown on what Saturnella is because it's not part of my path or my culture. But the little bit that I do know about it is that it is a Roman era, Roman based, Roman rooted winter holiday. I assume it is very similar from what I've read to like, it almost seemed like it was a combination of Mabon and winter solstice together. It seemed to be a lot about having a feast and giving thanks, but again, don't quote me on that. Saturnella is not part of my roots. I'm not Roman. I don't do the Roman Greek panthologies. I don't do the Roman Greek traditions. I'm of the Celtic path. But I do know that it's not the same thing as winter solstice or Yule, and that it takes place on the 17th of December. So it's not something that you can just kind of throw in there and use interchangeably, even if you have people who are kind of dual faith and might celebrate both. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So again, if you practice Saturnella, if you participate in celebrating Saturnella and practice like a Roman form of witchcraft, please let us know about it. I find it really interesting. I just don't know a whole lot about it. Same with that other thing that was at the bottom of the page, Alberion or something. I'm wondering if that might have something to do with the people who follow the path that's associated with like King Arthur and Merlin and like the Albion and Avalon magic. I do know a little bit about that, but I never came across whether or not they celebrated something different than winter solstice or called it something different. So I'm not sure. I'm just going a little bit off like linguistics and like what that word looks like it might be from, like what it might be from to me. But yeah, that's some information on some of the different winter holidays that take place in December. It's not just Christmas, and it's not even just winter solstice. There's quite a few of them. So if you practice something different and you follow a different culture and a different faith, I would love to hear about it in the comments.